Things are getting bad out there. Bitcoin dropping to about $94,000, XRP down to as low as $2.23. It's the end of the world again every time there's a price drop like this. So you're going to find that there are lots of analysts arguing that it's the end of the world out there. The market's over. This is proof we are indeed in a bear market and we're just going to persist. But on the flip side, if you look at the vast majority of analysts that I follow, and mind you, they have great track records, almost 100% of them, even after price action from yesterday and today, insists that the best is yet ahead and we are not in a bear market. So you guys can decide what you think makes most sense. As usual, I'm going to present both sides of this. I personally am not convinced that this is the end of the world. I really do not think that we are entering a bear market right now. There are things that would need to happen that, if they do, would start to convince me that we are. I just haven't seen them yet, so we'll be talking about them in this video. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say are right. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. As I record this video, it is 6:38 p.m. Central Time, November 14th, 2025. XRP currently $2.25, Bitcoin right at $95,000. But man, it has been a rough couple days out there. Take a look at this post from the Nijin Tropic account. This is run by the co-founders of Glassnode, Swissblock, fantastic on-chain analytics firms. And I'm not going to read the whole thing just for the sake of time, but this was posted early yesterday before we had seen most of the price drop that we've seen here. And he warned here that a final flush towards the 90,000s is plausible. But he's even if that would happen, the next leg higher is a matter of timing, not probability. So this doesn't break anything. And this is what I continue to find from pretty much every analyst out there is that, look, it's volatility. Yes, it's spooking some people, but it's within norms, the norms of what we've seen historically in the world of crypto. It just is. Here's a post from Swissblock, on-chain analytics firm. Stablecoin dominance is surging as Bitcoin breaks below $100,000. Capital is not leaving the system, it's waiting. And I'll note that this is posted yesterday, so the market was already tanking at that point. But they wrote, there is no panic rotation into Bitcoin yet. Instead, buying power is parking in stables, a classic dry powder accumulation. Bitcoin is defending $97,000 to $98,500 zone, but sidelined power usually deploys when a capitulation sweep hits about $95,000 and a stabilization phase with Bitcoin reclaiming and holding above $100,000. So what's happening right now is not something that is scaring the people running Swissblock. They warned yesterday before we got as low as we did. It's just a capitulation. Even if Bitcoin were to get to 95,000 roughly, which it did today, it's just a capitulation sweep, not the end of the world. Here's a post from Altcoin Vector, and this is fascinating. Take a look at this. Altcoins have real strength versus Bitcoin. Midcaps have become the dominant group, and not because Bitcoin is weak. During bottoming cycles, Bitcoin usually leads. Sometimes alts take over briefly, but those transitions are short and unstable. This time is different. Midcaps have dominated for far longer than normal, even while Bitcoin is still forming its bottom. That's unusual and meaningful. It tells us that altcoin strength is structural, not noise. Accumulation is happening under the surface, and the foundation is already in place. Once Bitcoin finishes stabilizing, this rotation could accelerate. And so note that they're still expecting Bitcoin to stabilize, not ridiculous capitulation down to like $60,000 or something like that. Then they write, look at the story midcaps are telling us. Alts aren't reacting with the usual fragility. Some are even outperforming. Given Bitcoin's weakness, this entire section should be deep red, but it isn't. This confirms what the market phase has been signaling. Alts have already capitulated. Bitcoin is the one still bottoming. Once Bitcoin stabilizes, alts will strongly outperform. So, the best is yet ahead. Alts are like I would be shocked if we don't have a proper alt season before this cycle ends. That just wouldn't make any sense. Then this time would actually be different in a very meaningful way. Here's a post from chart analyst Crypto Wizard. This is a market cap Bitcoin dominance percentage chart. And he wrote, warning, losing 50 week. There's a lot of talk about losing its 50W, but Bitcoin dominance has already lost it. It is having another solid bearish breakout and rejecting a reclaim of the 50-week, forming a lower high. Last time this happened, what followed? Well, I can answer that. Alt season. He still firmly believes this is going to break down. And you can see the price of Bitcoin recover even as dominance tanks. And look at the strength that altcoins have been showing here. Many of, like they said, like altcoin vector. Many altcoins outperforming Bitcoin right now. Here's a post from the great Matsby, Bitcoin price chart here. He says, Bitcoin hasn't been this overextended to the downside of the weekly lower Bollinger Band since August 2024. The last time it got that extended, it marked the bottom in the weeks to come. So he seems to be thinking, indicating, of course, if history is to rhyme with itself, same thing could be happening here. It says the lower Bollinger Band is currently around $101,000. So there's still a chance of a nice weekly candle close on Sunday. Well, that would be something if it just touches the lower range by the time the weekly ends. Here's a post from Credible Crypto. He said, some background on the quoted tweet below. And for the sake of time, I'm not going to read literally everything. He makes a pretty good... This is an excellent argument that he's making. This is a perfect articulation of what he thinks is happening big picture and why Credible Crypto, who I think is one of the best analysts in the biz, is not fearful here. And he posted this yesterday afternoon, and nothing has happened, obviously, that would cause him to rethink this. Okay. This is the latest from him, most in-depth thing. So the question was, Cred, what if we hit $74,000, confirming our Bitcoin top is in fact in? And my response was, if that's the case, then our alt season comes sooner rather than later. As I have stated many times, the biggest alt season is expected to happen post Bitcoin top, not before. And so, folks, you can see what he's arguing. The reason we haven't had an alt season yet is because Bitcoin hasn't peaked yet. It always happens after. And so then he says the quoted tweet was then the response, which basically asked, why would we see an alt season if we haven't seen one yet, despite the top being in? Hypothetically, assuming $74,000 is breached. And that is his line in the sand, by the way. My chart below is a response to that. Let's take a look. In 2017, after our last cycle ended, Bitcoin topped at the green dotted line at $20,000 on December 17th. Bitcoin then dropped 50% to $10,000, denoted by the red dotted line. After this point, following a 50% drop on Bitcoin post-Bitcoin top, we had our massive alt season, which sent total alt market cap from 170 billion the day Bitcoin hit 10K to nearly 500 billion, or 3x off the lows and new all-time high. The major alt season of 2017 that everyone so fondly remembers didn't actually begin until after Bitcoin had topped and corrected 50% off the highs. So hypothetically, even if Bitcoin has topped and $74,000 is breached, plain devil's advocate here, I don't expect this to happen. No, I am not selling my alts, and yes, we will still see the greatest alt season of the decade, in my opinion, and that won't change even if Bitcoin corrects significantly off the highs first. And so he is not bending here. He insists that what is most probable is you are going to see that alt season. And of course, he thinks what's most probable for Bitcoin is that it's going to go higher too. You're going to see a parabolic blow off top for it. So the fact that, yes, people are scared right now and the price of Bitcoin has fallen to about $94,000, it doesn't change anything for him. This is normal volatility in crypto. That's it. Here's a post from the blockchain backer. He is maintaining his bearish stance. And so here he's got a couple Bitcoin charts on the screen for it. And he says, if you believe in alt season, this likely needs to be your thesis. I don't see how Bitcoin hasn't already topped. If this isn't going to play out like 2021 and /2022, where it's just Goblin Town, then the area for any last chance of a meaningful retrace bounce is likely being reached. And so we'll see who ends up being correct. Tons of respect for the blockchain backer. He's, I think he's still the only analyst I follow who does believe it's more probable than not that Bitcoin is in a bear market. But, even though it's a minority position out of the analysts I follow, Sometimes minority positions are correct, and I just want to present both sides here. And you guys, you're adults, you guys can come to your own reasonable conclusions about what you think is most probable. I would need some things to change for me to think that we're actually entering a bear market here. But hey, I'm just a dude on the internet. I could be wrong here. We're on top of our opinions, and I'm going to be wrong at times too. But what we're seeing right now is normal volatility so far as I'm concerned. And based on a ton of macro factors that I keep talking about on my channel, I'm just not persuaded that we're in a bear market or about to enter a bear market. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but that's where I'm at. Here's another one from the blockchain backer. You see, you got Ondo on the left, Ethereum Classic in the middle, and Polkadot on the right. And he says probably can find more, but not liking what I'm seeing on some of these with larger time frames. Ondo has that classic no bueno setup, again acting like Q4 2021, not 2017. So he seems to be concerned even about altcoins here, not looking so hot. So fair enough warning. Again, I just sometimes I'll say it again, sometimes minority opinions are correct, but I'm just not seeing this, this type of, concerning posts from other analysts that I follow. But, he's certainly had minority opinions that have been, that have actually, panned out. So we'll see what happens here. Here's a post from chart analyst Gordon, one of the more popular analysts out there, 838,000 followers on X. He says, every indicator and pattern is showing a huge pump is coming. Hope you didn't get shaken out. And he posted that just this morning, November 14th. So what's happening now isn't changing his perspective. And as far as indicators, let's talk about that. Here's the page on CoinMarketCap that I'm just going to keep pulling up every time we have sad days like this. Crypto market cycle top indicators. There are 30 different cycle top indicators. Literally none of them have triggered. Now, if a bunch of these start triggering, I'm going to highlight it on the channel and then I will be alarmed. That's one of the things that could happen where I'd be like, gosh, maybe I was wrong about this whole bear market thing. That would make me start to think that maybe I was wrong and need to flip. That could happen. Not now, though. Definitely not now. That, and then just understanding like the various macro factors. I really do find the thesis from Raoul Paul that we're going to see, the market peak perhaps as late as the second quarter of 2026. I find that argument compelling. There's real facts, real data, real rationale that just makes sense. And so, well, he could be wrong too, but I find his argument compelling. This thing really could stretch. This whole cycle could. In which case, yeah, the best really is still ahead. Here's a post from Chart Nerd. And he says, XRP bears hate this fractal, which remains intact, by the way. So he's still targeting upwards of $27. He posted that this morning. And bloody market today, it's not changing his perspective. See, the chart analysts who are awful, you get a bad day, and it's just like normal volatility in crypto, and then they'll start flipping because they're just being emotional little idiot sticks. That's why you got to be careful who you listen to here. But he's not flipping just because there's some scary looking price action today. Here's another one from him. It says, XRP blow off top missing. And wouldn't it be weird if we just don't have that? Humans just no longer are going to behave like humans, and we're not going to see a rotation of, profits rolling into from Bitcoin into other altcoins, top altcoins. I just don't find that compelling. Here's another one from Chart Nerd. He says, XRP add to the 20-month EMA, and it starts to look really interesting here. Backtesting and holding this EMA during an uptrend signals continuation higher. It's taken over 300 days since the break above this moving average to finally attain a point of control. Hold it equals much higher. And so he just continues to bull post despite what's happening today. And that is what I continue to see from analysts that I follow, with basically no exception, rare exception. But then if you look at a bunch of analysts that just pop up in my feed, guys I don't follow, it's just chaos out there. And they've all flipped bearish, all of them, just about. That's what I keep seeing anyway. Here's a post from Charting Guy. He says, XRP ETH weekly LMACD bull cross. I am bullish on both for the coming months, but XRP is very obviously stronger here. And he posted that yesterday as markets were cratering down. Hasn't changed his perspective. Here's a post from today, this morning. He wrote, XRP and Bitcoin dominance are keeping me very hopeful. XRP, obviously, because it's showing tremendous strength here, even as the market's down. XRP's down less than Bitcoin. And then Bitcoin dominance, obviously, because structure-wise, he thinks it's about to just ridiculously break down. And that is what kicks off alt season historically. So hopefully that is indeed correct. Here's a post from Crypto Insight UK. A couple snippets for you. This is from his newsletter. Said, wrote this yesterday morning, but have been reiterating the same message on YouTube for a while now. And so he wrote, firstly, Bitcoin has the most dense area of liquidity above us that we've ever seen. Statistically, 80% of the time these areas get taken, so 4 out of 5 times we will go for this liquidity. Not only this, but alts, in this case XRP, specifically are displaying the same liquidity above us. With this being said, I do think there's a strong argument to say Bitcoin can come between $98,000 and $90,000 in price. And so he does think we could potentially go lower. He doesn't think that's going to break anything, though. Then he says, again, this doesn't have to happen, as I've discussed above. My base case is that we go higher. I'm 80% sure we do. I just personally feel this area I've marked off offers the best risk to reward opportunity to long Bitcoin. There is some hourly liquidity in this area. I think if we traded into these prices, the majority of the market would throw the towel in, and max pain would be a reversal to the upside. And so, despite this volatility, he also is not bending higher, folks. Here's another one from Crypto Insight UK. Says, we are very close to the low now, in my opinion. He posted that this afternoon. Says, interesting that Bitcoin dominance is dumping too. Alts holding stronger than Bitcoin. Indeed, you'll love to see it. And then he also wrote here, we've nearly taken all the liquidity. Daily RSI nearly oversold. 4-hour bullish divergences. XRP / major alts holding stronger. And all while the narrative is coming that Saylor is selling. Couldn't write a better bottoming script. And so he really does think this is pretty damn fantastic here. Then there's this post from chart analyst Casey Trades. I'm not going to, for the sake of time, I won't read the whole thing. But not exactly concerned here. This post is from yesterday afternoon as the market was falling, and she's warning that you could see Bitcoin drop to about $94,000, which has indeed happened, but ultimately thinks that this would be more of like a bottoming area and then ultimately would reverse to the upside. So no reason to be freaking out here, okay? If something changes, we'll talk about it, but it just doesn't make sense to be, flipping out just because crypto is being volatile like it has been for its entire 16-year history. Just saying.